JMats here for another draft diary video. And if you haven't watched my last video, I drafted a mono white deck. And so that was, and I lost in the second round, kind of to just a mono screw. I mean, it factored into it. Obviously, my opponent had the plays to beat me, but that was part of it. So, going into this draft, which was the following day, I kind of had liked how white flowed together. The curve just is really powerful. And so I decided to go for it. And because I'm going for it, I think I take that Griffin Rider second pick, which it will often table. But if you want to send clear signals, you gotta do what you gotta do. So that's why I am cutting white hard. There, had to pass a Chandra's Outrage. And there were a couple white cards, but no one's really going to draw into white because of a Siege Mastodon or Stonehorn Dignitary. They're playable, but not powerful. And apparently someone had a doozy of a choice to make right here. And so in the meantime, we'll wait. With Griffin Rider, while we're waiting, you really want to try to get a Griffin Sentinel. That's what gives it its power. If it doesn't go turn 2, turn 3, you're a little bit weaker. And there's a Griffin, not the one I wanted, but fits into the deck. That Rested Sentinel and the Guardian's Pledge also kind of fit in the deck. And the other thing about... Okay, I'm somewhat setting out to draft a very heavy white deck, but going mono white is completely unnecessary. Like, you don't screw your mana up that bad if you put in 3 mountains or 3 islands and, add some powerful cards from another color. So, I don't think that I'm only taking white. If something powerful presents itself, I'll give it a try, or it's fair due. Like here, Cudgel Troll, if I thought I wanted to go green. That Sphinx, I don't know if he's really that playable. 7 seems like a lot. It really takes a long time to get there. And in a good aggressive white deck, or a good aggressive, like red-black Bloodthirst deck, you're not going to ever get to 7. That being said, he really screws up my plans, and I wasn't passing up that much else that I really wanted. Here, another Griffin Rider. If I'm willing to take its second pick, I'm definitely willing to take its 6th pick, and with the hope that the other Griffins will start rolling in. Looter, not that I necessarily am playing Sphinx, but the most powerful card there, and like I said, if you're splashing a little bit of color too, you're not really playing with fire, unless you're splashing red. So, yeah. And then another Griffin, pretty easy since that's the deck that I'm going for. So I'll definitely take that at this point. And it's always hard waiting between the picks. It doesn't seem that long when you're actually drafting, but coming back and recording it now, it's like, oh god, I know what I picked, so get on with it. What kind of decision are you making at pick 9 that's going to take so long to choose? But so here, Divination or the Veteran, knowing I'm playing white, thinking I'm playing blue, in a vacuum, I think Divination is more powerful. That's what I went with. Here, I didn't think I was going to use Coral Merfolk as a 2-drop, and I've been blown up by Mind Rot a couple times, so I went with that. I don't have any 4-drops at this point, which is why I decided to go with the Stonehorn Dignitary over the Siege Mastodon. There's just better to do at 5. Really, there's better to do at 4 also, but I don't seem to have it. Guardian's Pledge, pretty good if I end up being as heavy white as this first pack has led me to think I will be. And then, that's playable for someone, not necessarily me, but definitely want to scoop that over a Bountiful Harvest. And then the last card is... The suspense is killing me. Buried Ruin, which potentially, if you have the right artifacts, there's not many in the whole set that are the right artifacts, but if you have them, you can do that. And here, pack 2, a lot of strong white. I'm taking the Archon, there's no doubt about that, but there's a good chance that at least one of those cards will return, and any of those white cards that return is going to make my deck. And sometimes you luck into that. Sometimes you go into a color strong and you're rewarded with a rare, and sometimes you don't. Here I had a kind of interesting decision to make, like, am I going to get illusions? I have none at this point. I don't like that it has a double blue casting cost. Incinerate is the best burn. I'm not completely sold on blue still at this point, and so I went with the Incinerate to start getting burned. And it's also very splashable. If I do go blue, that works. Really, I just decided that I'm going to have a lot in the air. There wasn't anything I really wanted, and so I hate drafted. And I know it's very early to hate draft, but like I said, there probably wasn't a card there that was going to make my deck. And so, and the irony of it all is that Plummet might make the deck. Yeah. I don't know, what do you think about the Sphinx? Can anyone tell me? Is it a good card? 7 seems like a lot. I don't really want 3 of those Griffins. I'm going to take it. Don't get me wrong. I want as many white creatures as I can get, and I do want Griffins, but I would be much happier if that card had been an Assault Griffin or a Griffin Sentinel. Here, it's kind of like, well, I can go for the Bloodthirst because I have no 4-drops, and if I go Incinerate, still not sold on blue, then if I go red, he works well. And I've had a lot of luck with the red-white Bloodthirst deck. And here I thought about, because I'd just taken that Bloodthirst creature, I thought about the Scepter, but decided to go with the Stave Off, because I know I'm white. There's just no doubt about that. Here, Siege Mastodon's the only relevant on-color. I take the Trollhide, mostly because it can be very annoying in a matchup. And not to knock the Siege Mastodon, it has its place. It's just not in this deck. This one was a little tough, because I actually really do like Mighty Leap, but getting the aggressive creature out there, here's that first pack, Pegasus Tabled, so I knew there was a lot of strong white cards in there, and I did end up getting something very happy, or something I was very happy with. Something very happy. That card's just so cheerful. So here, the only creature in the pack is the Crocodile. But I'm thinking about red, so I thought, well, an enchantment on a flying creature could work. Pride Guardian I've never actually played it, but I have played against it, and depending on what cards, I mean how it pans out, it can be a decent card. It can hold the ground for a short while. It can, if nothing else, chump and gain life, which sometimes that's all you need. 3 life can be a pretty big swing in this. A lot of my games have been within 3 life from one to the other. So now I'm thinking, well, Incinerate is better than anything I have in blue, so I probably am wanting to be red-white instead. Demystify is something great to have on hand. I mean, you're not main decking it, but you want to have some disenchant. Fortunately, I have Oblivion Ring, which is also a great catch-all answer to artifacts and enchantments and any other shenanigans. And here, I have kind of a tough decision. That dragon is actually a little bit too slow for me, and the Griffin Sentinel would trigger my Griffin Riders, and he's kind of the key to the Griffin deck, and so I went with that. And then next pick, I again am rewarded with a Griffin, which is a pretty easy pick for me at that point. And in my mind, at this point, I was thinking red-white, to tell you the truth. The blue just... I know Looter is powerful, but it also is more controlling. You need to get repeat looters, or repeated use of the looter to really get the value out of it, and my deck was trying to be more aggressive than that. So here, Benevolent Veteran's the only white card. The best card is Stingerfling Spider, and that actually screws up my deck a lot. So again, I'm not telling you to hate draft, but... And somewhere around here, I started to think, maybe I'll actually show all my cards. I started to think that some of the green cards I had picked might be better than the red cards or the blue cards. Yeah, so I bring it back, and I realize that I have a Plummet, I have a Rhino. Here I'm going to get a Griffin Rider, which is very nice for what I'm trying to do. But that Stingerfling is huge. I personally think Stingerfling is better than Incinerate. It just, I don't know, it shuts down so many decks. And it's a 2-for-1 instead of a 1-for-1. And Incinerate is great, don't get me wrong, but... So then at that point, Spirit Mantle, and I started to think, well, maybe the Sacred Wolf Spirit Mantle combo could come around in some form or another. Here, as I had started to think green was a little bit more likely to be the card to pair, then Cudgel Troll just stands out as an exceptional card to put in the deck. And I wonder if I end up cost sorting again. I don't really remember if I did or not, but I do know, and you might not know this, you might not have been paying as close attention to it, but I do know that in my curve I needed some 4-drops, and that was another reason why Cudgel Troll just leapt out at me as a good pick. Here I get the Sacred Wolf, I have the Spirit Mantle. That's my current favorite combo in M12 Limited, so... Divine Favor I have seen used to good effect. I would probably use more of them if I had a little bit more depth. Here, Griffin Rider I have the Griffins to back it up. Titanic Growth could give me a combat track. Plummet, I already have one. I would even like to have the dual land. So there's a lot for my deck. Do I take the Griffin Rider? I wonder how many Griffin Riders I had at that point. I took the Titanic Growth. I think I had maybe 2 or 3 Griffin Riders. I was getting to the point where, do I want another 1/1 that may never do anything more than that? And Mind Rot. Mind Rot is surprisingly good in this format. I think because it's a fast format, a lot of people have dumped enough cards out of their hand that even if you're casting it on turn 3, you're taking out 2 very relevant cards from their hand. Whereas in some other formats, it was like, okay, well, I'll just pitch these 2 extra land that I have because I haven't been able to do much of anything. And that's it for the draft. Here's switching over to converted mana cost. And now we are into deck building. And I go through and take all of my white cards that I know are going to make it. Let's see. I had 2 Griffin Riders. Oh, no, 3. I had 3 Griffin Riders, so adding a 4th was definitely unnecessary. And then from there, I knew I wanted the Stinger Fling. I knew I wanted my Sacred Wolves. I knew I wanted my Cudgel Troll. Let's see how long it takes me to actually get those in there. Oh, the Troll Hide because of the Sacred Wolf. I knew I wanted that. And then it's finishing off the deck with any sort of surprise. I went kind of back and forth on whether to main deck the Plummet, because there is often a flying creature that you want to destroy, but sometimes it ends up sitting in your hand just doing nothing. And it's very strong in the sideboard, obviously, but to main deck it, I really ended up just thinking about what my deck does, and my deck attacks through the sky, and if they have a flyer who's killing one of my guys, that's really hurting. So I put in the Incinerate also. I'm not sold on that decision. I just was very light on removal, and so I decided to get a little bit extra. And then I went through and took out the spells, or divided them from the creatures to see a little bit better idea of, am I going to have a 2-drop creature? Because a 2-drop spell is typically not going to be cast on turn 2, it's going to be cast on turn 4 or something, turn 7, and doing something real sick. So having all those 2-drops, and especially if I can go Griffin Rider, Griffin Sentinel, or if I can go Sacred Wolf and Spirit Mantle, or even Sacred Wolf and Trollhide, I liked synergies within the deck, and then I put in an Incinerate. Who knows? As far as removal goes, I think that's what I was going through. Lawkeeper, Oblivion Ring, Incinerate, Stinger Flame, Plummet, and ultimately Archon of Justice if need be. So that's the deck, and if you watch, I do have part of one of the rounds that was a little bit fun.